Hey Soul Babes, welcome to the Essence Podcast. I'm your host, Riss, and in this podcast, I love to dive into the world of spirituality, creativity, and holistic wellness. You can see me as your woo-woo bestie here to help you gain the tools you need to unlock what some people might label Pandora's box. But in reality, this box is where your true authentic self resides. It is where your divine essence shines bright. And in this podcast, we unpack releasing limiting beliefs, rewriting old stories, and together we'll explore what it means to live authentically, in alignment with your soul's purpose, and living unapologetically. So, in this week's episode, we are diving deep. I'm calling this the bestie edition.
The bestie edition.
Because I have my bestie here, Jearnest.
Hello.
Who used to live here in LA, but moved to Puerto Rico, and so I've been blessed to host her here at my house. And we're just gonna dive into our journey together that we've experienced, our own solo journey, and then the journey that comes, while we're together, that we experienced this whole week.
Completely. And I feel like I'm very happy that I'm doing this with you, especially now and today. Yeah. It feels very powerful because I felt tested today. And something that I was talking to Clarissa before we started the podcast was like, the more connected the more I want to connect with God and my higher self, and like really working on like silencing my ego and just trying to connect more with my divine self, I get more tested.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like the demons, or like, I don't know if I want to call it that, you know?
You can call them what they are.
But the demons want to put you down. And people see you like como radiando, like when people see that bright light in you, they want to turn it off.
In your divine essence you shine. In your divine essence you thrive. I'm your host, Riss, and you're listening to Essence Podcast.
I'm actually glad that we're talking about this. Whatever this podcast is gonna be about, like...
Well, essentially it was like there was no theme here. It's just free-flowing with understanding thyself and understanding how to navigate the way that you feel internally through your emotions.
Yeah.
Because first and foremost, like a lot of what we're manifesting and creating comes from the feeling. It's the emotion that you have that attracts it. That's what creates it. So, in the sense of talking about demons, it's funny you bring that up because I just bought a beginner's guide to witchcraft, like a book, and there's a chapter in it. It says feed your demons. Like
feed your demons.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that because don't tell me that because I'm taking it like de verdad, o sea, like sometimes I feel like even today, and I think that's my anger. My anger comes from, oh my God, if I start crying today, but I think it, like, my anger comes from always bringing the light and trying to put the demon, not, like, the shadow self, just like, she doesn't exist, let me just put it to the side.
Yeah.
But she's there, like, the shadow self is there.
Essentially, what feeding the demons is you looking at whatever that thing is. Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? Is it a memory? Is it a trauma? Like, however, like, much that thing bothers you, that's making you feel like you got a demon inside of you, you have to imagine it in front of you.
Yeah.
And look at it. Because ideally what that demon is a lower vibration.
Yeah.
It wants to be loved. It wants to be seen. It wants to be light.
And accepted.
Which
is funny because, like, in October, like, it was my birthday. And it was, like, the season of, like, darkness.
Yes.
And Halloween. And sexiness.
Scorpio season.
And, like, Scorpio season. And I felt so powerful because I was allowing that to come out more.
Yeah.
And then I always go back to, ooh, no, that's too much.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like this. When I met you, I wasn't like that.
No. You were not.
I was not. I just became this other version of me.
Yeah.
You know, and people know this, like, on TikTok and stuff like that. Like, I was in love. And when you're in love, the sweetness comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also recognize that I was silencing who I truly was.
Yeah. I think essentially like what has come across in this way of you just growing bigger in your light, like not only spiritually, but also like in the limelight, you know? So you are playing these roles and like you are to have this persona because everybody around you now is like, they want to say whatever to you.
Yeah, of course.
And they don't know you personally. They only see what you show them. And for that being like, they don't know you, it makes you only want to show people one way of you.
Mm-hmm. And I've done this. And I think like there was a moment like, and I didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't like something like some master plan. I think it was just like, you know, you get on the internet and one of the things like for me it was like, well, there's so much shit in the world. Why do I want to shit more on it? And you know, I want to just put good energy out. A person that's spiritual, you know, that wants to put love out, also needs to. It's almost like this, and it's finding that balance because I'm not just one thing. I'm not just one thing, and so the full, like everything that I am wants to come out.
Yeah, and it's funny because she keeps saying that, like, she's embodying this, like, she has, okay, we got our nails done together in the beginning of the week.
Yes.
You see the colors we chose? This is, like, when I paint my nails, this is, like, my aura right now.
Yeah.
And the whole time we've been together, it's been like, I want to dye my hair red. I want to get into my darker side.
I want to come out!
You've been saying this the whole time. So essentially what this transition is like gaining back that other side of you.
Yes.
And maybe it might be intense for some people. And
it might be fucking intense.
And for yourself. It might be a little intense for you, but the more that you embody it, then you tone it down. And then you bring it to balance. Then you collide the worlds together of who you are now and who you want to be. And you allow yourself to emerge into this new person.
Yeah.
Right now you feel like something's missing, and that is because of that other version of you that is yet to be expressed, that used to be expressed.
Completely. Someone like this triggered me before we were doing this podcast, which I don't understand really the concept of like pick me girl. Like what does that? I don't really know what that means, but it's rooted in something that's like I think why it triggered me. It's like even when I was little, I was always trying to be, and I think that this happens to a lot of girls and a lot of women. We want to be good girls. You gotta be a good girl.
Yeah.
You gotta be a good girl. You can't fuck up. You gotta be a good girl.
Yeah.
And like that's in my head. You gotta be a good girl. You gotta be perfect. I don't want to be perfect anymore. I don't want to be a good girl anymore. I don't want to, like, I want to be imperfect. I want to fall. I want to be vulnerable. And I want to make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, that's where I'm at. And but especially, like, oof. You get me? You feel me?
Yeah, I get what you
Have
mean.
you ever felt like that? Like,
I have. I mean, let me just tell you where I've been at. Like, can I just mention that we had a good little witchy time together?
Yesterday.
We bought some candles and we pulled some cards and, you know, candle magic is very powerful. When you light a flame and you have an intention, it, like, brightens and enhances that intention, whether it be from, like, manifesting something more, like money or love or actually healing, protection, whatever your intention is. Like, candle magic is, like, 101 for witches out here. And so we did that together. And we were able to, like, pull cards and just, like, meditate with each other. And I did some, like, crystal bowls. And I have this wave drum. So we went all in at just this meditative state.
yeah.
And essentially, as we got deeper into just our communion together, I began to get very vulnerable and feel like a part of me needed to release something. And it turned out like a lot of what I was hiding was this wanting this love from my dad. And that's essentially what I can relate to. It's because I hid myself for so long in a closet. My mom knows everything about me because I lived with her. But I only saw my dad here and there. So our relationship was like rocky. It was like daddy's little girl when I would see him, you know, like
Yeah.
how's
Put a
school?
mask on.
Yeah, like how's
I'm
school?
great. Yeah.
And my grades are good, you know, like that. It was just very black and white talking, like because I was just seen as a child, and I was never told like, oh, we're gonna go on a trip. It was like last minute that I knew we were doing anything, like because I was a child, I never was part of the conversations. So I was like put in this little girl outfit forever, and I felt like I was like I couldn't breathe in it. So I kept my distance from my dad. And coming back to here now, I'm a witch. And I am a light worker. I'm a healer. Like I've embodied what I love. And that scared my dad.
Well, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because, and this is something that, like, you know, this is bigger than us.
Yeah. It
Like,
is.
this is bigger than us. Like, we're just being human and navigating, you know, what it's being human and, like, the spiritual realm within our existence, right? And for you, which I feel that responsibility sometimes, it's like, okay, I have this power.
Right.
I have this power. And I see the light, and I've seen things, right? I see a world where, like, there's so much, we have so much power, right?
We do.
We can create our reality.
Yeah.
We physically can see our magic.
Yeah.
But then you're confronted to a world that's not ready for it.
Yeah.
And your dad is a reflection of that.
Oh, of course. You see, like, I can see myself in the shoes of, like, oh, I'm definitely attracting you, my boyfriend, and everyone that is, like, expressing themselves from their heart.
Right.
And then I see people, like, with my dad and my dad's side of the family and some of my mom's side. Like, I have even friends that are just very, like, they only know so much because they haven't really experienced other than their own little world. And like, I live in a smaller town, so everything is like, well, we agree to this, you know, like, that's like, there's more of an outcast type of feeling that I get sometimes because I live in LA. Essentially, my dad saw me
LA.
He saw
The
me
crazy
as a
world.
liberal person that has now experienced a lot more of life, and I just accept more. I accept everyone for their own journey. Like, there's no, like, black and white for me. I've always seen, like, vibrant rainbow colors, and it's allowed me to just accept all that is around me. You know, everybody's decision is their own. So be it, you know? And because of that, I always bumped heads with my dad. Because it's always like, no, that's bad. Or, like, that's against, you know...
Well, because they think that you being spiritual goes against God. But the craziest part is that it's when you're the closest to God.
Yeah.
And, like, all of this, like the crystals, all of this is part of, like, como que literally our nature, like our humanity, going back to indigenous times. Like, energy, spirits, like, it's all the same. The thing is, like, what divides us, I learned this word at some point. It was called nomenclature. Like, nomenclature, have you ever heard of that word?
No.
Nomenclature. So, nomenclature, I think I'm saying it right. It's the word you give things. So for example, this is a cup. I mean, this is how do you call this?
A cup.
Okay, but I call it taza, una taza. The problem that we have with religion and spirituality and all of that is that we give the same thing a different name.
Of course.
It's all language.
Yeah.
And language can separate us.
Language can separate us. But it's also what I told you earlier. We're in an Aquarian age right now. So Aquarian age is this place of, like, where we are to see that we have our own power. Like, in the Piscean age, that is where that is where we get our history from, of, like, where the Bible came from, where it stems from. You know, it became the sheep follow the shepherd. You know, like, we came to Jesus to heal us. Like, there was always something we had to seek outside of us, you know, in the way that we were taught and learned through religion. So, essentially, it's in this place and age to know, like, I hold that same power within. Like, I can heal just like Jesus. Like, I literally have that power. I just need to tap into it. And a lot of us have forgotten that. So,
And let me stop you there. Because you said, I have that power, right? I can recognize that I have that power. But my power is still connected to God.
Of course.
And I think that's like, yes, I have that power. And yes, I have that. I like to call it magic, which a lot of people are like, ooh.
Yeah.
Which is, you know.
Yeah.
But
magic is essentially energy, which is just call it magic, but it's energy.
And in religion, what do you call it? In religion, it's like God, angels, right?
Yeah,
or how would you?
I don't even know.
Or like the Holy Spirit.
Well, the Holy Spirit. But see, the thing is that everything that's been like God, this or that, like it's when we point at it, like it's outside of us. Like I need to, God help me, but God is already within me.
Mm.
Like the angel help me, but the angel's already with me.
Mm.
Like we don't have to look outside of ourselves. It's all within us. Like we are a cluster from the universe, which is God, who made you and I.
Yeah.
Like it is not, we're not separate. So that's the illusion that is breaking here.
Yeah.
Is this ascension of like, we are not separate. None of us are. Like literally we were born the same way. Like we came out of our mother's womb and we're gonna die the same way. We're composted back into earth.
You know, and I think that's like the confusion that a lot of humans have. Because we, like, it's also the uncertainty of it. Like I get it. Like me listening to you speak it. Like whenever we want to talk about other things, it's very hard for people that have learned it in a certain way to expand even that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, we're human. We have a brain, and everything we analyze needs a name. That's where it comes from, because essentially everything's the same. Like you could say light in English, luz in Spanish. Like it's the same thing.
God, Allah.
Yes, exactly. It's the same thing. We just perceive it in different ways. Yeah. And that is where that comes to the terms of that's our own truth. So that's essentially where this Aquarian energy is coming from. It's like everyone has their own truth. Everyone is not right or wrong. It is just what it is. Like it's this acceptance of that. And that's what this, again, the Aquarian is to help bring that union and bring that awareness to the ascension aspect of things, because we can't grow as a world if we're all like against each other.
And it's just because we're trying to control each other's views of things.
Exactly.
And instead of just, hey, you do you, I do me.
Yeah.
Like, chill.
I do want to bring this up. My boyfriend might hear me in the other room, but we had a conversation during the like election time, and he was getting very like angry because he's an Aquarius himself. So they're very about like humanity. Like they want to help humanity.
I can see that in your boyfriend.
Yeah. So we're in bed like pillow talking, just like having a conversation before bed, and he was like just feeling very like uneasy, anxiety because of this, like where it was gonna go, and was feeling afraid for the wars that are already going on. And I was like, you know what? Instead of being upset, why don't we pray about it? Like, why don't we just like turn it around? Like sometimes we feel little, like we can't do much, but our prayer and our intention does a lot. And so we did that together, and he sort of felt kind of weird because he doesn't practice what I practice, you know, like he has his own ways of meditating. You know, I feel like men have their own way of connecting with God, and women have their witchy
That's
ways.
a very interesting concept, and I want to talk about that after we finish this.
So essentially like bringing the like prayer with him, and like this way of like getting in tune in a prayer, like praying. It was kind of like, is this really gonna work? Or like, you know, it's like we doubt something, like if it's not physically like we're making that action, you know.
You know what? It's funny because I've thought about that. I've thought about like, okay, and this has happened like I don't know her name. She was very famous, like a nun. She, for praying. She's like maybe someone knows there. But I was thinking about like the power of prayer, right? Everyone in church and, you know, pray about it. However, like, we don't really like sit as a society like, oh, today at 1 p.m. we're gonna pray for war to end, whatever. Because it sounds crazy. Because it sounds like, wait.
Yeah, like, what's that gonna do?
What's that gonna do?
Yeah.
But what if we didn't? Like, what if we just believed in magic? Because I love calling it magic, right?
Yeah.
What if we just believed in magic? The power of prayer, the power of energy.
Yeah.
This is science. Science.
Yeah.
Energy. You put water, isn't that one of those, like, water gets affected by the moon?
Yeah, we are 70% water.
And that is inside of us. That's energy. How are we not treating energy as a more important thing?
It's coming.
It's coming. We're getting there.
We're getting there. Because look at us, you and I. When we first met each other, that was not in our vocabulary.
We were not talking about energy.
Yeah, we were not. Like, we were still in like a 3D world of not even really knowing our like our higher self, you know?
Yeah.
We were just moving through the motions
We
of
were
like
just clubbing.
like going to clubs, going to school, like it was just like we're following a pinpoint, but it was weird, you know? Like we were just in
I was definitely questioning God. Like, I remember when I first got here to LA. I was very Catholic. I went to a Catholic, yo nunca he sido, like, I've never been like too subscribed to a particular religion. But I grew up in Catholic, then I went to a Christian school, which I've kind of liked like the Christian church a lot, a little bit more because it's a little bit more entertaining.
Right.
It's very human. It talks about like, come on, like, let's go,
dance.
let's do this, you know?
Like, woo.
So it's, you know, the Catholic is like, and you know, it's a little, but I remember coming to LA, my brain was, you know, I was coming to college and I was having these questions. And I remember I've always questioned things. Like, I think like, and when I started questioning things, right, I remember questioning God, right? Like, oh, I think that you should, you know, as a human, you should question everything.
Right.
And I was like, oh, then who created God? Ooh, that's the worst one. Who created God?
Well, that is essentially your question that is beyond the black and white.
Beyond the black. But when I started having that question, which I was 8 years old or something like that, and then I started having questions, I remember being like, well, if God gave me the power of thinking, then he wouldn't get mad that I question.
Right.
That's how I started rationalizing it. I was like, if God gave me the power of wisdom, if God gave me a brain to question things, it's with the full purpose of questioning things. Like, God gives us, I mean, this is even written in the Bible, el libre albedrío, I don't know how to say that in free will. We all have free will. There's this place here in California. It's called Lake Shrine.
Oh, yes.
And for the people that don't know this is like a hidden gem.
This was opened by a yogi. His name was Yogananda. And he opened this place in the 50s in the Palisades. So right in between Santa Monica and Malibu. So the Pacific Palisades. And it's beautiful.
It's honestly, if there's any place that it's closer to what I think heaven is, that's Lake Shrine.
It's there.
And what I loved about this place, I discovered it thanks to Clarissa. She took me there. And we went there. And what I love about this place is that you get there and there's like a lake and there's like this beautiful flowers and a garden and like a little chapel. And there's, in the front of it, it's like, what is it? Is it?
It's a pond, like a lake.
Like a pond,
like
but in front, there's all the religions.
Oh, yes. There's like stones.
Stones for all the religions.
All the religions.
And when you go to the chapel, you enter, and it's not a chapel that's, you know, designed
like
to be
meditation.
one. It's a chapel that celebrates all religious beliefs, and all the masters.
And Yeshua, Jesus is hung up there.
Yeah.
And other deities that are from other cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like, wow, can we just accept?
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. Like, everyone. I don't know. I really like that. I feel like that's where we should head towards as a world. Like,
yeah.
where we finally. Like, how are we having wars based on beliefs? We're killing people still.
Yeah.
In 2025, we're killing people based on what you believe that's going to happen after death. This issue that you have with your dad, and that I can feel at times, even with whatever society, it's just a reflection of literally the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, your tiny situation, that's huge, of course, for you, but this tiny situation is just a reflection of literally the war.
Right. It's division. It's like a micro.
Just based on beliefs.
It's a micro feeling I have in my life that is a bigger, like, manifestation in the world. Going with my dad's side, it's always a bit intense. Like, a lot of masculine energy is on my dad's side, where nobody really gives hugs. Everyone is kind of like, hi, you know, or like side-eyed a little. So it feels somewhat, you know, a little like, hi, you know, like I feel a little odd going there sometimes. So, but I've always been this vulnerable person that even though maybe they do talk about me or whatever, like, I still show up.
Mm-hmm.
But just essentially once me and my dad had our like fallout where it was more like, I personally thought he would just accept me for who I am, but it turned out like it was like we have nothing in common anymore. You know, like you believe in something else and I don't. And so that became like, I thought I was your daughter and I thought like I would be accepted. But that's my challenge here on earth, is to accept myself. And essentially, like, even though I am healing through this, it became a spiral of like, the healing journey, first and foremost, is never over. It will continue to be there. You are just evolutionizing, like you're evolving until you can heal this, so you don't have to manifest this and bring this into your next life or let this carry on through your own family tree, because your child that's going to be born next,
but that's the crazy part. It's
couldn't
like
be given this energy.
a lot of us, like this generation, is having to do the healing that a lot of our past ancestors didn't do.
Of course.
Like what I'm forcing to heal right now, it's not just because of this thing that just happened to me. It's like all this crazy cloud that I've carried on since the womb.
Of course. Yes.
So, you know, getting enlightened and healing it's
not just you.
No.
It's your whole family tree. It's your neighbor. It's your future husband or boyfriend. It's your future children.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is, like, webbed together. So you doing your work allows other people to not only do theirs, but it allows you to help those that passed before you that didn't have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. To me, which is interesting, I'm doing here a live at the same time. And I've been living in Puerto Rico for the past 4 years since the pandemic. And I had tapped into all of this knowledge, right, that a place like Los Angeles allows you to. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many people here. And, you know, thankfully, like, the yoga world is very big here. Like this alternative way of thinking is very accepted. Yeah. Right? Am I right?
Of course. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. I went back to Puerto Rico and I hadn't unlocked all of this, right?
Yeah.
I came back to Puerto Rico and it was really hard.
I could only imagine.
It was really hard because this type of feeling and this type of conversation is not common.
No.
And then it meant also not only an outsider, like an outside thing, but also what it meant to me. Who was I then there? If this part of me doesn't exist, if all this knowledge and wisdom that I've felt, that I've like understood in LA, it's coming with me to Puerto Rico, but then people don't understand me anymore. So I basically had to kind of like shoved that inside. It's like that part of we can't talk about it.
I just want to say I had deja vu right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Anyways, yeah, you had to shove that inside of you.
Oh. Is that why? I didn't mean that. What do you mean? How do you say it?
No.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought I was like...
literally had to go
I
to
had
Puerto
to, yeah.
Rico.
I had to, like, literally... That sounded like a double, yeah.
A double-edged sword,
Yeah.
but, like...
I had to literally swallow all of that. Yeah, like, I had to just ignore that side of me.
Like, you didn't just, like, have a whole other experience of life.
I just had to
and, like, come back to your old
I just had to go back to my old self.
You're like,
to be
what was that like when I was in high school or a baby? Like...
Literally what happened to me in the
Wow.
pandemic.
Wow.
Like, I remember all of a sudden I was in Puerto Rico again. 7 years after I had left. And my parents are treating me like I was a 17-year-old again. My family was still treating me like, you know, the people I surrounded myself were not having these conversations.
Yeah.
The frequency wasn't the same. So I literally had to just quiet that part of me and just evolve into that to fit in. Until, with the years, all of that wisdom and that intuition kept
Was
talking to me.
knocking at your door.
It kept being like, hey, I'm here. I'm here. You're not this. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Hey, what about all the work and all the growth we've done?
Yeah.
Where, like, I exist. I literally had this whole version of me, who I was. I had
Push
to
it away.
ignore her.
You had to put her in Pandora's box.
I had to put her there because I didn't know how to be that in this world.
Yeah.
And so now that I've spent 4 years there, right, that I've grown into a different way, right? I've done TikToks, I've evolved in a different way, I've seen the world in a different world. Now I'm trying to connect both. Now I'm trying to connect, okay, this Jearnest that lived in LA that grew so much spiritually, that had these connections, that talked about magic and talked about spirituality. That's who I really was. But now I have a little bit more street, more badass, more. So it's about.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, what Pandora's box is literally not just like you're not one thing. Your whole, like the way you experience life is what makes you you.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in Puerto Rico, moving to LA,
Mm-hmm.
like these are all just you picking up the puzzle pieces to like gain who you truly are and unlock that, because essentially that's all you probably wanted to manifest when you were a child.
Yeah.
And it just started to like develop in its own way and you started to follow that.
Yeah.
And essentially coming back home was allowing you to remember yourself,
The roots.
mm-hmm. and rebuild yourself, because I feel like this is what the pandemic did to, like, you know, our whole friendships, like all of the girls that we were with.
They all went back
Deanna, Cami, like
We all went back home.
everyone went back home. And so I feel like everything that you have to like, I feel like it had made us all like just come back. And then we can go forward. So that's
It was like, it feels like that. What's that thing? Like
a slingshot. Yeah. And that's what
you
life-
have to go back.
Okay, but that's not the only time you're ever gonna do that. Like, you're gonna slingshot so many times. Where you're slingshotting now, where you're at, you feel like, I need growth. I want to be in my dark side. I want to be in this, right? But, like, you keep feeling like you're going backwards. But essentially, girl, you're gonna be like...
Yeah. It feels like that. It feels like, and especially, like, this year has felt like, I'm swimming. I'm swimming.
And then you may feel like you're drowning.
No, you're right. I'm drowning. More than swimming. I've been drowning. I'm like, I'm trying, but I'm drowning, bro. And it's but in the drowning,
You learn to swim. Like, you
I've
get...
been learning. I've been questioning. I've been sitting with myself and facing my demons.
Yeah.
And being like, who the fuck are you, girl? Like, I don't recognize you. But I'm okay. I want to find you. I want to connect with you again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to, where do we meet again? Because, and that's where I'm at. And I do believe, like, I do believe that everything that I've dealt with this year has been to,
Yeah, it's to rocket launch, baby.
yes, to really put me where I need to be. But now it's more about how do I don't have to prove anything to anybody.
No.
But I definitely feel like I need to do a reintroduction because I'm just not the same person.
You're not. But
I'm
this
not.
itself is a
Like-
reintroduction.
Like, I'm not.
This, like, you don't really talk about... I don't
talk about this shit.
No, like, this is... And I don't do this. Like, I've never been on this live thing. So,
Yeah.
like, there's a first for everything, and the transition is now. And it just moves itself, you know, like, into being, you know, where you're gonna go next. Like, don't get comfortable in one spot.
I'm not. I am. I keep saying it. I'm like, this is my nomad era.
Nomad, yeah.
Nomad.
Mm-hmm.
Like nomad era. I'm in my journey. I'm like gonna figure it out. I'm
Yeah.
gonna. It's exciting.
Yeah, and essentially I want to also touch base on the fact that, like, even though you're going through these things, there's also bringing this self-awareness to whom you're attracting. Because everyone is a mirror of you. Whatever you're feeling, say for example, like, my boyfriend may trigger me sometimes, or I might be triggered by something, but instead of pointing that finger, we have to be like, okay, what the heck? Why do I feel like this? Like, get it together, you know, and then reevaluate where this is stemming from. I'm going to give you an example. So, we have a dog, Matcha, and I grew up in a family where it was 4 of us. So my mom, with my mom. And I lived with my mom, and my mom was a busy mom. So she, when at the time was with my stepdad, she would get after my stepdad saying, like, you never help, you never do anything. You know, like, she would snap because she was the one getting all the things ready.
Yeah.
So, coming back to here, I was the oldest child, too. So, I was like little mom sometimes, you know, embodying that, mimicking her. That when I'm with my boyfriend and we have our little dog Matcha, I'm like, you never help. Like, why don't you help? Like, I start mimicking my aggressiveness of, like, how to respond because I saw
With your mom.
my mom respond that way.
Completely.
So, who's the one that teaches us first? Our parents. The kids we mingle with in school, society,
Yes.
the entertainment, like, everything that's downloaded is like, we're just sponges when we're babies.
We are freaking sponges.
We're just soaking in what feels like that's the way to
I'm
respond.
so glad that you mentioned that because through my healing journey, I've been, which we've established that this is forever, I've realized, it hasn't been, girl, before I would be like, I'm good. I'm just going to keep going with life. And, like, I'm going to ignore all my problems because I'm not wrong. Like, I'm just going to move on, get distracted, do my fun little thing. I'll just meet a new guy and I'll forget about everything. This time around, maturity, wisdom, I've decided not to. I'm like, oh, girl, you're going to work with yourself.
Yeah.
Girl, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and you're going to question yourself. And why do you react like this? And, okay, what traumas do we have to fix? Because I've realized a lot of the things that I did in my relationship were because of the things that I saw with my parents. How my parents reacted to things. Communication, how you communicate, how you do not communicate.
Right.
Because the way I saw the bickering, but other people don't see the bickering. Other people just avoid.
Right.
Other people just don't talk about it. And navigating, okay, what am I going to work on myself? And I think that's this year, even though it's been really hard, I'm always going to be grateful for this year because it forced me to see myself. It forced me to look at myself and say, they have their problems, but we're going to focus on you and me. Look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, we're going to focus on you and me because it's you and me against the world. At the end of the day, it's you and me forever. I'm going to have to deal with the person in front of the mirror every single day. And I want to be happy with that person.
Of course.
And I want to be proud of that person. And I want to look at myself in the mirror and recognize myself more than anything. Because for a long time, I would look myself in the mirror and I didn't know who I was. I would look at myself and feel ugly. And I was beautiful. But I would look at myself in the mirror because internally, I wasn't listening to my gut. I wasn't listening to my intuition. I wasn't giving myself love. So the person that I looked at the mirror, I was like, I would criticize every single piece.
And you're not the only one in that boat, because we are all in that boat, especially if we have social media. We can be very persuaded by what, you know, other people's lives look like, what we don't have, or, you know, what is being said. Maybe if they, you know, it comes down to everyone has their own truth, their own opinion, and we might see it like ours is weak. Like, is that true? Like, is that me? Or like, you know, or, you know, I want to look like that. You know, like we compare that. So when we look in our own mirror at ourselves, there tends to be something we want to like fix. And there's nothing, we're not broken.
No.
And that's what the healing journey is essentially to help you remember is self-acceptance, self-love, and self-awareness. And that's essentially what I practice is like when I work with the healing, with the Reiki, with the tuning forks, with the energy sessions, I'm not fixing you. I'm helping you remember who you are. I'm helping you digest those emotions that have been lingering out around you, because your memories are not here. They're like all right here. This is where your Akashic records, it's in your vortex of your auric field. So when you...
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So when you go through something, you might get a memory that pops up or something where you feel uncomfortable, your body feels like, I'm scared. It's because you made that already before. Like you felt that in your past. And it's
this makes a lot of sense. It's very crazy because now I know that I'm in this cycle of breaking cycles. So I'm in this moment of like breaking cycles. And because I'm so much more aware and I'm doing things with more awareness in my life. Awareness is not always pretty. I wish I was not aware. I wish I was like ignorant. Let's be ignorant.
Oh my gosh.
Ignorance is prettier. Ignorance is nicer.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. but truly, being aware, one of the things I've been so in tune with my intuition, and you going back to what you said. Now, if I meet someone that reminds me of the past, then I'll feel it in different places. Or if I'll a trauma. Oh, my throat chakra. You know that this is my biggest problem, my throat chakra here, because I don't speak up, even though I talk a lot.
The wrong part of speaking up doesn't come out. It's just you're speaking, but you're not actually like projecting what you really want to say.
I'm learning to do that more. But what you were saying about the body and everything, Aubrey Plaza was talking about that. She had a heart stroke. And her brain, what was it? Her brain stopped working for a little bit, but she was answering everything. So for example, they would ask her like, what's 10 plus 10? And she would want to say 20, but her brain wasn't working. And that's when she started realizing that thinking... Consciousness is not in the brain.
It's not in the brain.
Consciousness is not in the brain.
It's not.
It's like, it's our soul, bro.
Yeah.
It's our soul.
It's the energy that's around you. Your body, it holds everything. It is like literally...
It's the energy.
Yeah, it's in your body. So that's why essentially you want to be able to learn your body. You want to be able to learn like when your body's uncomfortable, when your body is excited, like your body will speak. And your mind may have a different answer, way of like, oh no, like it might want to repeat something because it felt good before. So it's just essentially getting your mind and your body and your soul to commune together. Because here's the thing.
Okay.
Our mind can travel from the past, present, and future. We can think about something in our future, whip it up in our head, right? We can reflect on a memory from the past. We can literally boom, boom. That's where the quantum leaping is. That's why our brain is essentially like this beautiful like creation. But our body, where is it staying? Right here. It doesn't know the difference between those. It just feels right here. Your mind can also bring up an emotion, and your body is going to think it's happening for the first time.
What do you mean?
Do you know, like, okay.
Oh, I feel like I understand exactly what you mean.
So
I've literally...
Okay, this is coming from a book I read. It's called Becoming Supernatural. It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And essentially what he is teaching is like, so this woman, right? She has like 4 kids. Her husband committed suicide. And she got the news from a police officer coming to her door saying, hey, your husband died. So she's like, what? Like, why did he... Like, all these emotions were coming up where she was crying, she was sad. Like, why would he do that? Why would he leave our family? What was wrong with him? So, like, she's living in this fight or flight mode, right? So it's moving through her body. Like, she's constantly panicking about her situation. That... Her body does not know that, like, later on in life, so, like, a year passes by, she's still going crazy thinking about, like, why did my husband die? Why did he leave me? That every time her body had to trigger it to a fight or flight, thinking that the same memory of her opening the door and seeing the police, her body gets this, like, adrenaline rush of crying, of this and that. And, like, the body is just, like, constantly in this, like, panic mode. Yeah. And what happens is every organ in our body has different ways it connects with the emotions. So a lot of, like, they say in your liver, you hold anger there. So essentially, if you're feeling like, if she was angry, she's messing up her liver, because a lot of what's going on is other parts of her energy, of her, like, what's keeping everything functioning, has to move its energy to help the liver to be like, okay, calm down, like, you know. So other parts of your body are not getting the nutrients and the, like, imbalance.
It's physical.
So she's causing more pain in her body to manifest.
Which that goes back to what we were talking about, the spinal thing. The
spinal energetics. That's essentially...
Which I don't know much about that. But I want to learn more about that. But that's why it's if we were connected as a society to learn these things, because cancer, for example, like, you can all heal that with the energy. It's all connected. Your mental, your spiritual, like, and as you said, the body doesn't know.
The body does not know.
Doesn't know.
It doesn't know. It's just like, oh, we feel this. And like I said, you know, I said that the body holds the energy, and if it feels something, it'll bring it up, right? But your mind can also force it to, like, bring it back, to make that energy, because it's like your Akashic records. It's records of, like, you think of something and you pull it back and, like, I want that to play in my memory.
Girl.
So you have the power. Yeah. Your mind has the power to, like, repeat itself.
Yeah, I know.
And, like, the thing is...
like, yeah.
But the thing is, too, is that we can get addicted to our, like, these emotions.
Yeah.
We can get addicted to, like, even though we're like, oh, I hate this, we secretly like it.
Dude, I don't think that we like it. I think...
Well, it's not that you don't like it.
I've woken up, and I want to ask you this. I've been asleep, and I've woken up sad. No. I felt the sadness before I wake up.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you repeat something. So say, for example...
Like, go back in memory?
No. When you're literally in a cycle of choosing, for example, a boyfriend, and you're like, oh, I don't like this. Like, for example, like the arguing. But you don't like it, but somehow you keep attracting it. So technically you kind of do like it, you know? So that's what I'm saying. Like, when we are mirroring, when we're attracting something in front of us, there are things that are out of our control. So I want to give you what you're saying is, like, I was working with my I like to call her mama-in-law, my boyfriend's mom, stepmom,
Mm-hmm.
and she has a lot of anxiety. She has a lot of trauma stuck inside of her.
Ugh.
So there was an incident where somebody broke into her house, and she came home from school, and she was just looking at the people that broke into her house, and she's like frozen there. So what happens is, because she lives in that memory, sometimes she feels not safe, she freezes and she gets anxiety. And to this day, she's like, I'm not even scared. My body's like scared. So what I'm saying is that you're not even mentally like there, but your body is like still feeling that way.
We need to fix we gotta fix that. You
Yeah.
can't be like, you can't live like that, but I get it. Like, trauma will do that to you.
Trauma will do that.
Will cause you anxiety. This year is the first year in my entire life that I felt anxiety. Crippling anxiety. It's the worst emotion a person can feel. If you've not felt it, I hope you never do. And does it always come from trauma?
No, it comes from multiple things. It can be a traumatic events. Those are the heaviest, honestly. But there could be numerous things that cause things. But essentially, trauma is the heaviest. Like, trauma is the densest. So if you're feeling trauma from, like, there's levels to it. It's like what we might consider good or bad. There's a high and low in the energy field.
Okay.
So, like, shame, guilt, those are the most lowest places you can get. So you will feel heavy. You will feel like a burden's on you. You will feel like, I can't get out of this. Anger, sadness, like it goes up and up and up, right? And the highest you can get to is bliss, this enlightenment, like feeling like, like free, you know? And like through the vortex of being a human, we spiral up and down. But essentially what we want to do is, in this case, that's where it comes back to acceptance, awareness, and forgiveness. You attach to those emotions sometimes.
Yeah. Does Reiki take that away?
Reiki
Can you fix that through Reiki?
So essentially,
like, can you do Reiki on me?
The energies that I work with, like Reiki, practices like Reiki, tuning forks, sound healing, even yoga, or like, you know, a meditative state, like those are practices that allow you to work through, again, like the energy and like healing yourself. So Reiki itself, meaning spiritual energy, it is a place where I get to channel the Holy Spirit, God, you know, the universe through me. So I'm essentially not even using my energy. I'm just a vessel to help bring more light into you, because we become so dense. Our energy gets pulled around. Maybe you haven't grounded outside and you feel like...
Oh my God, I have not. You're right, I have not.
You feel like chaos is going on.
Yeah.
So essentially that's what Reiki does.
You know, it's funny. Oh my God, I've never said this. I've never said this out loud. Or like this, recorded. When I was going through my breakup, I was so sad. Of course, I was like feeling like I was gonna die. Like, that's just how I felt. And I remember that my practices when I was going through that was going to the grass in my parents' house, going to the grass, laying there, right? And trying to meditate. I would do like a lot of like, I started listening to, oh my God, to the best, el mejor pastor de mi vida. Like, oh my God, we should have gone while I was here. Dante Gebel. You should go. Dante Gebel, an Argentinian un pastor, amazing. And I love him because he's just acceptance. He'll talk about sex. He'll be a human. And we'll talk to you about God. And we'll tell you a joke. Anyway, so I would listen to him. Or I would listen to meditation and all that. I would always go to the same spot. A day after, 2 days, or like a week after, that spot where I would do my meditations at, it burned.
Whoa. What?
It was burnt. The grass where I would lay down.
Yeah.
Everything else was flourished. Everything, the grass was like...
That's crazy.
Like, my dad hadn't even trimmed the grass. Everything, like, it looked bushy. And that part where I used to do the meditations because I was in so much fucking pain.
Yeah.
So going back to grounding, it absorbed it. It
Dang, girl, you make the ground burn. They're like, let that shit go.
Let that shit go.
It turned into flames. You don't need that.
Yeah, so grounding for sure.
Yeah, that's part of it. That allows you to come back to when you are unbalanced. That's a practice you can do on your own.
I'm gonna start doing more meditation after this trip. I've connected to my healing angel. I'm gonna do more meditation.
Yeah, and essentially, you know, those memories that are gonna pop up, it's transmuting them. That's what it is. Transmuting your own emotions that you feel. Sitting with your demons that feel heavy. Because that is where the Reiki, the tuning forks, any type of meditation or yoga, whatever spiritual practice you do, what it is teaching you is how you can use your own power to transmute the energy. You can do that. I can help you, but you can do that. You have to do your own work. Like, I cannot heal you. I can only help you. Like, the tuning forks itself, like, it are vibrational forks that can help bring that energy back into where it needs to go. Because sometimes we have lingering energy that's stuck. And that's, again, part of, like, the memory, a trauma that sits in our memory bank. Yeah. Bringing it back to you. And sometimes there are traumas that are heavy. There are traumas that you need somebody by you to reassure you can heal yourself. Yeah. But it's you, babe, that does the work. Yeah. Discernment is one thing you must practice when you are awakening, because if you don't, then you're going to be very vulnerable to the energies that are around you. Yeah. Because yes, there is still a light and dark entity energies that still roam around. Like, that is true, but that is up to you to be discerning of, like, I don't want to work with that. I do want to work with this. Let me just give it to you this way. Sometimes I come home and I might carry something from somebody else, or something energy that might be very, like, uncomfortable. I come into my house, this is more like a witchy thing, where I feel it, like, tingling on me. Like, I can feel the vibrations. I'm like, I don't like that. Like, I'm alone by myself and I can feel you. And so I open the door, I open the window, and I'm like, you can leave now. And I literally you just gave me goosebumps. Tell the energy that. Okay,
this is something that I've never talked about. I love you too. This is something crazy. Because remember the entity that lived in my apartment?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And someone told me, he's like, yeah, there's... Yes. And especially when you're more awakened, when you're more connected to God, when you're more connected to a spiritual realm,
when your frequency is high and you have a light,
these things wanna bother you.
They wanna say hello.
And I remember I had to ignore. I had a ghost in my apartment. Yeah. And he would mess with my roommate because she was a little bit weaker at the time. She became stronger. Yeah. And with me, he wouldn't mess around because also I'm in my own head. I don't care. I'm not seeing you. Bye. I'm gonna go to sleep. Are you gonna be there? Okay. I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm ignoring you. But yeah. But that happens, and I think people feel these energies. They just don't. We don't talk about it in this way. Like, for example, someone like, ay, ella me da mala vibra. You know, she gives me bad vibes. We're all spiritual like that.
When we have these bad vibes, it's kind of like, the decisions we make don't define us, all right? So, like, we are, again, all spirit. We all were born with a light that was very bright. We started to become denser as we started to understand the world and commune with the world. So, like, you don't really remember before you were 4. It's very, like, blurry. But
that's probably, like, the most light you have.
Exactly. That's the most vulnerable, playful part of you. So you start to lose that. You become very, like, follow the leader, you know? So it's coming back to understanding this part of you again, like, coming back to this angel self.
And I try to be an angel self every day of my life. But people be testing me. people be testing me? Because then they think that you're naive. Then they think that you're innocent.
Yeah.
Then they think, she doesn't know shit about life. It's like, no, I'm just working to be connected to my angel side.
Yeah.
I'm purposely connecting to that childlike spirit.
And that's something that you have to be aware of, that people, not everyone's going to understand that. And for you to be able to accept that you cannot lower your benchmark of what you know for other people to understand.
I'm no longer
You can't
doing
explain yourself to everyone, nor do you need to reintroduce yourself, because they know who you are. People know you, and they'll learn about you more and more. The more that you keep your standard, your benchmark to where it needs to be, where it wants to be, and they will either listen and understand you, or they won't get it.
They won't. And it's funny because that's exactly the chapter I'm entering, where like everything in my intuition, my brain tells me you don't need to explain yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You either get it or you don't. You either understand it or you don't. You either hop on the journey or you don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care anymore to make you understand.
Yeah.
Or make you like me.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate me when I'm being nice? Then hate me while I'm being everything I am.
Yeah. I do also want to come back to, like, when we say bad vibes about something, we gotta listen to that, because that's clarity of, like, you feeling like, I don't like this. But there's also a part of us that's kind of like, let me just be curious and, like, linger around. Or maybe we don't even have a boundary, that we're just like, well, you know, we vibed once before, you know, maybe I'll just give it another chance.
Maybe we come back to the vibing properly. Yeah.
And we give it another chance.
Yeah.
And, like, the thing is, no, understand what frequency you're feeling.
That's true.
We have to get beyond the judgment part. It's because we like to be like, oh, well, that person's a bad vibe. And then we like to talk about it and then, like, linger on it.
No, my problem is the opposite. My problem is like, well, let me understand. No, but let me understand.
You should have been a detective. Oh my god.
No, not trying to be a detective anymore, not trying to fix anymore. I'm just gonna be like,
I think it's just your curiosity comes from your Scorpio side. Like, it's very like
the mystery. Let me
the mysterious, which is good. Like, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, everything is. And you can either use that for like for something that's gonna benefit you or something that's gonna bring you down. But what I'm trying to get at is that, like, if you're feeling these bad vibes and you're feeling this way, or you feel like something positive, like, whatever is on the meter of what you're feeling from this person, but essentially this is relating to, like, when you point out a bad vibe or you feel this, like, you want to point a finger, we have to be able to still remember that person is still a light. It is having the same experience as you. Like, they are going through that same little journey, but in a different way. So...
Okay, but this is exactly why. This is exactly why I'm saying that's why I want to be curious. Because that's my problem. My problem is that I see the light. I see the light in everyone.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. But you have to, that's where we come back to discernment. Because even though you see the light in everybody, that doesn't mean that everyone sees their own light. They're not aware. I can't be like,
Beam, see your light. Beam,
see your light.
I can't.
Everybody.
And I try. Like, that's been my biggest
Captain
problem.
Save-A-Ho out here.
Like,
you gotta just let them be, like, who they are, and they have to figure that out. Just like, you can't heal me on my relationship with my dad. That's for me to heal. I can't heal you, even though I want to hold you and hug you, and, you know, your journey is transitioning, and I want to be able to, like, protect you, but I can't do that for you. Like, I can only support you, but I cannot help you see what you cannot see yet until you are ready.
Yep. And that's that. That's been a beautiful podcast. It's been nice.
It's been very nice. I'm very hungry.
I'm very hungry too.
But I am so grateful to have you here.
It's been a cool exploration of our brains and spirits.
Yeah, it has. I mean, this is something I practice, so I was just more than welcome to, like, bring you on board.
Hopefully it's it's the first and not the last.
Oh, no. No. We have so much more healing to do together and individually, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Soul Babes, for watching this podcast. If you would like to hear more about Essence Podcast, you can find me on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And if you would like to find Jearnest on her social media,
go to Jearnest Corchado
on TikTok and Instagram. So thank you, Soul Babes, for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.